session is State Government Supported Initiatives, Goa, Karnataka, Orissa, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Northeast States and Andhra Pradesh.
HR co-governed design.
The topic will be discussed, issues related to mines, auction and expiry, simplifying lease expiry, lease renewal and transfer of mines, land acquisition,
tvqcoke.com.
deforestation to afforestation, rehabilitation, power and water availability, logistic connectivity, roads and railway sidings. We will also be discussing royalties, FDT and other taxes, comparison with global miners and also setting the right base price of mineral produced. For the rest of the session, I hand it over to our session chair, Mr. Vidyut Chakrabarti. Thank you with his opening remarks. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon everyone. I hope all of you had a good lunch break. This is session 2 for the conference that Metallogic has organized with the support of other sponsors. Before we set out our agenda for session 2, I thought as the moderator, let me introduce myself. My name is Vidyut Chakrabarti. I am a partner in the mining and metals practice of KPMG in India. I look at mining and metals and have been with KPMG for the last 16 years. Specifically, we work with number of state departments, including the DMGs, the MDCs, apart from the private mining companies like Tata Steel Mining and others, we get to work with and interact with. So being a consultant, I think it is my role to bring in the outside-in perspective of all stakeholders, keeping the overall theme of the conference in mind, which is about ease of doing business in the states as far as mining and metals are concerned. Let me just set the context for the discussion before I call in the eminent speakers from the industry. We all know that mining contributes around 2.7 to 2.8% of the gross value added GVA to India's economy, and it also employs around 2.5 crore people, both direct and indirect put together in the value chain. Hence, mineral-rich states like Jharkhand, Orissa, Chhattisgarh, AP, Rajasthan and many others rely heavily on mining as a sector, and of course metals as a value chain goes on, ecosystem business to do well within the state for the state's own economic growth and more importantly the employment generation that happens in the core business as well as the peripheral businesses, be it logistics, be it the contractors and other ancillary businesses that we get to see across states. Mining as a sector has been opened up significantly since 2015, we can say that, and with multiple regulations and policy guidelines coming from Ministry of Mines, the other related ministries like Ministry of Coal and Steel, and of course the specific policy guidelines that have been formulated by the respective state governments. This includes the National Mineral Exploration Policy, the FDI relaxation that happened, and more importantly, all new mineral assets that have been decided to be put up on the auctions table for allocation to anybody, be it PSU or private. So far, 239 mineral blocks have been allocated since 2015 across the states successfully through auctions process. So far so good. Then why we are discussing today? Because if we deep dive into a particular state, we observe that the states have not been able to achieve their full potential so far, and there is significant lag there. The scale and the positioning in that particular scale is going to vary across states, but nobody can deny that no state actually has achieved even closer to their potential in terms of the business that it can create through mining and the value chain. So what are the core issues? Just let me summarize on the table and then we will get to hear about the solution themes that may come from the speakers. First and foremost, very high tax that has been impacting mining as a sector. Of course, there has been a recent guidelines that came last year because of which somebody can opt for the corporate tax to the tune of around 25.17. Otherwise, when it was 34 to be precise, the overall tax implications for the sector, including royalty, DMF, NMET and others, it was hovering around 60 to 64% depending on old mines or new mines, whereas the global average is 40%. That is one part of the problem. The associated problem is there is a problem of royalty on royalty for some of the minerals because of the pricing that happens on ex-mine basis that is published by Indian Bureau of Mines. There is also cases of lower rate on, there is also cases on royalty on highest grade. If a miner is not in a position to maintain stockpiles due to space constraints or otherwise, then of course the issue about GST, the inverted duty structure, whereas the input costs are at 18% or higher, the actually sale of minerals is happening at 5%. So whatever input tax credit, that remains as a cost in the hands of the miner. Point number 2, high premium discovered through the auction process, whereas it has brought in transparency for sure, and everybody can participate in the auction process. But I think the zeal to maximize revenue for the state government in terms of timing and otherwise is actually forcing the participants to bid very high. It is very good on paper, but the revenue will only come to the state government if the mines are operationalized, number one. And number two, everybody is missing the big picture. The states may be thinking, I'm going to earn higher revenue because of the high premium, but this is a cost pass through. So at the end of the day, the end consumer is going to pay for this high premium. So the infrastructure costs, be it steel, be it cement and otherwise, that is going to increase significantly because of this higher premium. And at the end of the day, government, because of its flagship programs, need to invest a lot of money to build these infrastructures. So in one hand, it is gaining more through higher premium. At other hand, it is spending much higher through the infrastructure costs. That is point number 2. Third, there is ambiguity in terms of what exactly can be defined as active and specific role play of the state governments in helping the miners to operationalize their mines. There is support on the table for sure, be it land acquisition through district administration, be it the other clearances like public consultation for economic, for your EC that happens, but no defined specific role play where there is an obligation and accountability on the state governments to extend support to the miners to operationalize their mines. Number 4, logistic cost. On top of the high premium that is being paid by the miners, because number 1 of the modal mix where there is 60% dependence on roads, the delivered cost of raw materials to the steel plants or aluminum plants or the cement plants are actually significantly higher, which could be optimized if we could have a master plan in terms of building infrastructure for evacuation and then put in money to build those infrastructures, be it for first mile and last mile connectivity, which would have made our overall logistic cost significantly lower and effectively leading to higher competitiveness for the raw material to reach to the plants, which effectively leading to lower cost of the products that the steel and aluminum and cement are actually producing. So the questions on the table on logistics, is every state having a master plan in place in terms of building evacuation infrastructure, especially the mineral rich states? Can we have a PPP model in place so that money can come in from anyone, not just by the government? Because government is only going to put in money up to the extent they can earn revenue through this royalties and DMF and NMET and many others. Whether, another question on the table for the panelists, that if infrastructure status can be given to mining, is it going to bring in more investments in this regard? Like what happened to logistics as a sector, when the status was given way back, if I'm not wrong, in 2014, after that, be it the domestic investment or foreign investment, money flew in, and the kind of traction that we get to see in overall logistics infra is significant. Can we think around that? Another question, can common infra be developed, be in the hand, like slurry pipeline, the weld conveyors, or even the first mile connectivity to evacuate ore from a particular region to the nearest railway siding or otherwise, or the port? Can common infrastructure be developed so that everybody can put in money in the corpus and that is utilized for building this infra? Fifth point, our readiness for future mineral auctions. Are the states putting in enough time and effort to spend money as well as resources to do fresh exploration? With MECL likely to get merged with CMPDIL, I think it is high time, this is just my view, that every state need to have their own arm in terms of driving exploration, so that they can identify commodities that are going to be in demand for the next 2 decades. And I'm not talking about commodities like iron ore and bauxite and limestone. These are very common. It is time to focus on that what is going to be the future needs from energy transition point of view, from electric vehicles, the green metals demand. So we are going to need and make best use of whatever resources we have in terms of nickel, cobalt, lithium we have got now in J&K, and graphite, copper. These are five, and of course rare earths. So 5-6 key commodities that these states have to invest heavily in order to identify resources and then convert those resources into reserves in whatever percentage it can fructify to. Last but not the least, in terms of minor minerals, it is a well-neglected area. Let's accept the reality. The mineral administration is a serious issue. There is a specific need to put in money in terms of building digital infrastructure so that there is proper transparency in terms of resources as well as how much is being evacuated from a particular asset. That visibility is very important for the state to have trust in the system, ecosystem, and there is no lack of trust between 2 parties, then only this business can flourish in. These are 5-6 key issues on the table. There may be more. It is not comprehensive. I think it is time to introduce the panels and the speakers there on the dais. Mr. Sri Krishnendu Mandal, the Director Mining Bhubaneswar from DGMS, Director General of Mine Safety. Sri B.L. Gurjar, Regional Control of Mines, Indian Bureau of Mines, IBM. Mr. Pankaj Satija, who is the Managing Director of Tata Steel Mining. And Mr. Glenn Kalabhampara, Secretary GM OEA. So let me invite Mr. B.L. Gurjar, the Regional Controller of Mines, Indian Bureau of Mines, to share his thoughts.
Namaskar, respected dignitaries on the dais, and all the participants. I want to highlight some points with regard to auctioning of mines, post-auction of mines, and its better part and other parts. So, first, as you know, there has been a change in mineral concession regime from application mode to auction mode in 2015. So, this is a transparent, non-discriminatory, fair allocation of the mineral blocks by e-auctions. So far, 235 mineral blocks have been auctioned in India, and in Odisha 42 numbers mineral blocks have been auctioned. And every day the figure is increasing day by day. So advantage is it is a timely resource development, fast and quick allocation by auction, and in Odisha itself, out of 42, 25 mines have been operationalized, and 2 mines have been operationalized within 10 days of auction. So how you can see the fast movement by this method instead of application methods. No dispute is there, allegation of favorism is not there in auction of the mineral blocks. Now with the enmity, focus of exploration for deep-seated mineral is there, and in existing mines all approval have been transferred by vesting orders for 2 years period. They can do mining activity with existing approval up to 2 years after getting the lease. The another advantage, state revenue has increased by bid premium, enmity fund increase, DMF fund contribution increased, and in all the districts of India, out of 634 districts, 632 districts in which DMF. So this in all the districts, almost all districts of India, this district mineral trust has been framed, and it will help for upliftment of the social life of the people living in and around mining areas. Now, what are the challenges after the auctions? Number one is high bid premiums. High bid for mineral resource can be unsustainable, and maintaining healthy socio-economic environment a tough challenge. It may hurt the mining sector in a long way. Many industrialists, in greed of capturing the mineral resources, they have bidded unrealistic and very high bid premiums. I would say they have engaged hardware expert or economist instead of Indians, simple arithmeticians or mining geologists or mining engineers. Then second is MDA condition to maintain the production level of 80% of previous leasing and more than 2 years after period is a huge challenge to mining industries. In some cases, even total mineral source will exhaust within a 10 to 15 years, whereas lease is auctioned for 50 years period. So they were in a so hurry, or they accepted every condition, just like in insurance or anything policy we accept every condition, but in our this MDPA it was written in a bold letter. In spite of they have hurriedly accepted every condition and signed the MDPA with 80%. They will maintain the 80% or 100% production of previous lease, which is a challenging task. The another challenges is delay in removal of mineral stocks and mines machinery by earlier leaseholder. In some cases, even earlier leases stacks are there. There is a delay and litigations are going. So this is another area where we have to be very careful. Delay in non-willingness in transfer of private land held by earlier lease. This is also one of the issues. Sustainability of mines with 100 or more than 100 bid premium is a questionable, or it will cause disturbance to existing ecosystems from the earlier leaseholder to the new leaseholders. They will not be able to maintain the hospitals, the schools, the CSR work which they used to be maintained earlier. Next major step, major impact which I am practically observing is strain on technical persons, because their bosses have bidded very high and now they expect from the worker level person to give or compensate the losses, which cannot be compensated by any means. The cost of production cannot be reduced by a person working in the mines itself, and it will develop a very stressful atmosphere in the mining field, and there is a frequent movement of the technical person from one organization to other organization, which is not a good system, good atmosphere for the mining industries. Change in work culture by new management or displacement of the employee bound to happens. So these are the side effect of the auction process. Then another, we have to maintain a climate actions. We have, every company has committed their net zero target to be achieved, and in this scenario also we have to achieve that by 2050, net zero in mining industry also. World is moving towards a renewable energy, and EV vehicles will demand a higher metal productions and mineral requirement from our mining sectors. So we have to be ready for these challenges also. We have to adopt a new technology and innovation at early stage. Artificial intelligence, data science and automation technology in the mining sector are to be used. Blockchain technologies to be used to make mining industry survive in this auction regime also. Then another area where we can having a issue is gap in skill development too. So we have to use the technology. We have to make our people with knowledge of latest digital technology, and so that there is a improvement in efficiency and productivity of the mines. As you know, the experienced pupils are hanging their boots and young workers are entering into mines. Mines need to overhaul their training process to make sure that young workers do their jobs accordingly. As you know, Government of India is having a policy to provide the apprentice training under the National Apprentice Program scheme for designated trades, mining, mates, blaster, and graduate under the National Apprentice Training Schemes, instituted by Board of Apprentice Training and Practical Training of Ministry of Education, Government of India, to fill the gap of skilled person in the mining industries. So, after these auctions, many companies, they are not following these norms and they are not providing the trainings. So, it is my request also to them, please engage the new persons and provide their training in accordance with the government rules. And adopting by this, then operational cost and productivity challenge is also there, as we are anticipating our target for steel industry, our target for cement industry, our target for Atmanirbhar Bharat. The PM has given a very big target, and to cope up with this target, we have to increase our productivity and cost of production also to meet the challenges of future world. After auctions, there has been many changes in the MMDR Act, MCR Act. But what my personal observation is there, in the industry lobby there are two type of peoples. One is suggesting other way and one is suggesting other way. They are confusing the government also. That is why these changes are not being reflected properly. In spite of that, government is taking feedback and they are in frequent times, a corrective action is being taken. Just you can see, one is transfer of leases. In MMDR Act 2015, the transfer of leases was banned, but later on it is allowed. Secondly, captive mines, mercantile dispatch is allowed. So these are some of the steps government is taking. Still government is in the process of auctioning. My only point to say, communicate to you is there, we should not plan a river, crossing the river by taking its average depth. Please consider the maximum depth while crossing the river, otherwise we will not be able to cross the river in getting the mineral concessions. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity and sharing my view on this aspect.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gurjar, the Regional Controller of Mines, IBM. We'll summarize at the end of after once all the speakers make their points and we get into the Q&A. Now, if I may request Mr. Krishnendu Mandal, the Director Mining, Bhubaneswar, Director General of Mine Safety, to share his thoughts.
Namaskar. Dignitaries on the dais, up the dais, and dear participants. So actually, the session is having various topics which are required to be covered. Just I am concentrating because Monica ji was saying at the time before coming here that since time is short, so just touch the major points which are to be delivered. Just I am covering major safety issues. Say, after getting lease, after getting land and getting all the statutory provisions which are required to commence a mines, then comes into picture the DGMs, Director General Mine Safety, and the Mines Act rules, regulations and made thereunder. So I am finding just last almost 1.5 years I am here in Bhubaneswar as Director Mine Safety, Bhubaneswar region. So certain points which I try to improve, and our moderator, Sri Chakravarti moderator, he has opined the minor sector in Odisha is highly neglected. I totally agree with him. So before coming to minor sector, I am just, try to highlight. Here in Odisha, if I find that there is lands constraints and mine is going deeper and deeper. So mining industry, basically, Pacific Sukinda chromites and the iron ore. So they are facing some monitoring issues in respect of suitable stope monitoring. Though scientific study has been done, but yet, based on the scientific study, a suitable stope monitoring system is yet to be employed in spirit. Then the self-regulations come as a matter of safety management plan. And here also we find, since it is a statutory provisions in CMR 2017, but for MMR 1961, it is yet to be a statutory provisions, though it is a statutory provisions in the amended MMR. Here I want to highlight or stress that the formulated SMP as well as the implementation program which is there, that yet to be established in every mine and implemented as per norms. So that is a challenging area in the mines, and the mining company, especially metal mines companies, shall be prepared to do. Third is the scientific study. Here also you are finding scientific study, there is some technical scope is there, but as a whole, like say method of working, ultimate pit slope, dump slope, monitoring of slope stability, etc., are not being given to the scientific organization to make a plan in a holistic approach. When you are talking with scientific, based on scientific study, when you're approaching the scientific organization or discussing something, we are finding there is certain lacuna which are yet to be addressed by the concerning mine management. Here the area to be improved. There comes a logistic. There is the safe conduct operation at railway siding of the mines. Here we are also finding some gaps because railway now taking extra load, railway connectivity is also having some significant because lot of minerals are to be transported from one place to the designated places because some plants are far away from the mining activity area. So here also there are some logistic issues where the mining companies shall look into. And we are finding some disasters have happened recently past, and there is a court of inquiry. Based on the court of inquiry, we are finding the certain lacuna we are finding that the project report, when it is prepared and approved, we are finding as per the project report mine was being run into. Certain operations as per convenience, they are being run and then being operated. Sometimes say some mines has some 10 million ton capacity. Suddenly they have got 12 million ton capacity without going specific details like say logistics support, service sector supports and other support sections that increase in the production by increasing number of contractors, but without having other specified area which are looked to be into, like say place of dumping, layout dumping, heighting of the dump height, layout for roadage of transportation, which generally make a serious effect on safety, which are to be looked into. And sometimes projects get approval without complete acquisition of land required for operations. It leads to heightening of the benches, it leads to some other issues which lead to sometimes major accidents and sometimes disasters. And also we are finding there is no planning monitoring committee that should be also set up to monitor the deviation of the operation side from the planning side which was planned into. So a planning and monitoring committee for the large mine, open cast mines or underground mines, that shall be set up to project into any deviation from the planning. That is also lacuna which we are also finding, and the major disaster which happened some years back in a coal mine in Jharkhand. Here also finding that the court of inquiry pointed out rightly that the status of the manager has been compromised because a junior officer has been made into a manager post which is responsible statutorily without giving responsibility and accountability. So a senior level officer shall be made manager which are required because some mines are getting bigger and bigger. So this is the parameter which shall be looked by the mining companies. And we know that the maximum mines are being done through contractor, sometimes MDO. But in certain cases we are finding that when we discuss something, okay, contractor knows everything. He shall look into, he shall give the answer. But as a primary owner, so you have to restrict role of contractor only to carrying out the operation for whom they have been engaged. So this is a very serious matter. That shall be also a challenging task which the mines shall look into. And we are finding for a big mines, sometimes internal audit is done, like say ISO. So external safety audit which are required to be done, that is absent in the most of the mines which we find, and that is also required. And we are finding that the digital occupational safety and health OS observatory and role of information technology mining sector is really lagging, and we advise and suggest mining company, and this was, the theme of the 12th National Safety Conference, which was held in the year 2020, and maximum mines are doing that, but we are getting less benefits or less, benefits out of that in the mining companies. So a lot of things to be done in the case of digitization in various, activities, machine operations, so that at a tip of mouse or tip of mobile through app, we can find out number of employees, their data, IME, PME, their injury, and again the machine, number of machines deployed, machine health, etc., that can be done through digitizations, which are, I think, this is a challenging area in the near future for the mining companies as well as the mines. So for the state government, we are finding that availability details of active and valid quarrying leases, including the GIS, Geographic Information System coordinates, of all points of the lease demarcated by the state authority on common web-based platform for easy access and sharing among stakeholders. I think IBM is also doing the same thing through their Sudur Distance, etc. project. I think this will help if there is a communication between the state government as well as the central authority as the mining operators. And here also we are finding that like our moderator Vizag Kepimji has pointed out lightly, the prevalence of pneumoconiosis, silicosis amongst workers and present dust control measures and strategy for the improvement. Here we suggested in the 12th safety conference that the respiratory dust level must be brought 1 milligram per meter cube. Here we suggested the state government shall create, at least for the minor sector, because major sector, they have their own hospital, their own OSH services. For the minor sectors, for the granites and the quartzite and etc., the state government shall create facilities like chest radiography, audiometry, blood biochemistry at primary community health centers. Also get their doctors trained in OH and ILO classification of chest radiograph, if necessary, with the funds available from district mineral fund. So we are finding that this is the area where state governments are looking to. I request Monica Bachchanji, also he can coordinate with state government in this regard, so that our, those so-called the unaffected persons or affected persons who can raise their voices, they get their due health benefits. Also, you see, major minerals have their occupational health service, but integrated approach they don't have. Like say, a status report or occupational health, we find when we visit or inspect the mines, we get the PME report, IME report, we get the airborne dust separate, but a holistic report like this on occupational health, industrial hygiene in the mine, aspect of medical examinations, notifiable disease, status of first aid, result of survey for airborne dust, noise, temperature and sanitation in workplaces. As a holistic approach for all the parameters which are required for occupational health and industrial safety, that is missing. So once again I request all the mining companies present here and the participants to look into this aspect, so that we shall have some approach to eradicate those things which are now absent. Here also the individual function I'm just attending, there is some women LGBT community, they have been honored. So DGM is also giving some window for equal employment opportunities for women in mines and exemption from the provisions of section 46. Now in underground also women can work from say in the morning 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. and in open cast throughout the day. So once again I thank organizers and the participants to give me the time and listen to me. Jai Hind, Jai Shri Raksha.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mandal. You have thrown some light on the safety management plan and the safe regulation for minors. What kind of role contractors need to play under the ambit of the mine owners and all that. All point noted. I'm sure there will be few questions from the audience when the Q&A happens. If I may now request Mr. Pankaj Satija, the Managing Director, Tata Steel Mining, to share his views.
Good afternoon. Mining industry from past 10 years has been constantly evolving. And it reminds me a famous story of a father and two daughters. So, both the daughters were married. So after some time, father thought that he should meet both the daughters. And he went to the first daughter, stayed there for 3-4 days. And while leaving, he asked his daughter that I see everything is good. You are living a very good life. But as a father, if I have to do something for you, please tell me what I should do. Then she told that, no, I am happy, I don't need anything for you. If you have to, then pray that there should be good rainfall. Because my husband is a farmer and good rainfall will mean good harvest. And he told, fine, I will do so. Then he went to the second daughter, stayed there for 3-4 days. And while leaving, he again asked the same question to the second daughter, that I am also very happy to see that you are leading a very good life, but as a father, what should I do for you? She told that my husband is a potter. Please pray that there should not be any rainfall. There should be good sunshine so that we can make more and more, potteries. And the father got confused that what he should pray, sunshine or rainfall. So mining industry also has many daughters. PSUs, private, auction mines, non-auction mines, mines which were expiring in 2030, mines which were auctioned after 2015, and each mine or lessee has its own set of expectation. And we don't come to one set of expectation to go to the government or to the policy maker or to the decision maker that these are our charter, these are the things we need. And that makes bureaucrats confused that what I should address, because each one has its own set of agenda, its own set of expectation. And past 10 years, we have seen from Shah Commission or Lokayukta report, the various reports in Goa, Karnataka, Odisha, then Colgate, then 2015 auction, and in between COVID, which was a pandemic. But then the things have been very evolving, and we don't know what we should ask for and how the changes have been. And if I have to summarize this, I would like to borrow words of Ahmad Faraz, कि किस तरफ को चली है अब हवा नहीं मालूम, हाथ उठा लिए हैं सबने पर दुआ नहीं मालूम, मंजिलों की तब्दीली बस नजर में रहती है, हम भी होते जाते हैं क्या से क्या नहीं मालूम. So things are changing so fast, it's not giving us time to think what we should ask for, where we should be. And now with the decarbonization and climate change, which is going to happen, there are many things which will evolve and evolving also. We all know that coal versus RE, iron ore versus scrap, coking coal versus hydrogen, and different initiatives will keep us on toes. And mining industry has to, constantly look for a clear-cut trend and clear-cut vision and clear-cut ask to the government so that your pain areas can be addressed faster and in a smooth way. So if I have to compare different states, it will not be good on my part, because after this Shah Commission, Lokayukta report and then carrying capacity study, each state is at a different platform. Some have been carrying, limit to 35, 20, 25, 64. So each estate has been given a ration that, you can't produce more than this, depending upon the dump area, depending upon the lease area, or the roads what they have. But the data, what if you see of the auctions, so around 239 blocks have been auctioned, and past 3-4 years data have been good. So if you remove this 2021, which is COVID period, the auctions were only 13. But the past 3 years, barring that period, is 43, 46, and 85. So the trend has been good. And in terms of state, Odisha is at number 1 with 44 blocks. Madhya Pradesh 42, Karnataka 34, Maharashtra 28. And mining industry in India has always been criticized for focusing on 4 minerals: iron ore, coal, bauxite, limestone. But if you look for the new trends which we all talk about, the critical minerals, the new age minerals, there the focus has not been. So number of blocks compared to the mineral wise, so iron ore is 76, limestone is 73, manganese 24, bauxite 22, gold 13, graphite 8, rock phosphate 4, chromite 3, phosphorite 3. So the different minerals which country should be needing, I think more and more focus can be given. And as Mr. Vidyut was mentioning about transparency part and revenue maximization, I personally feel that there should be a calendar plan for the leases which are going for auctions. So that will also ensure transparency and also reduce the aggressive bidding which we always see that more than 100% bidding are happening and then becomes unviable. So as the things are evolving, but the constant thing what it is there, it is written in Atharvaved, Bhumi Sukta, and I would like to quote that mantra here, that Satyam Brihat, Ritam Ugram, Diksha Tapo, Brahma Yagya, Prithvin Dharyanti. What 6 types of behavior one should have or industry should have to be sustainable for a longer term. So first one is the Satyam Brihat, Brihat Satya, the truth which is not yours, truth which is not mine, a common truth, जो सार्वकालिक हो, सार्वभौमिक हो. Ritam Ugram, Ritam is law, and the law can be your regional law, your national law, your local law, or the global law of climate change or biodiversity. And Ugram is stringent, that you should be following the laws very diligently. Diksha is constant learning. Tapa Brahma Yagya is also on austerity, that how you should be using those resources. I'm sure that the mining industry in coming days will follow this mantra of Atharvaved and be sustainable for future to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Satija. It's always a pleasure to listen to you. Our last but definitely not the least speaker, Mr. Glenn Kalabhampara. He is the Secretary, Goa Mineral Ore Exports Association Secretary.
Thank you, moderator. Distinguished dignitaries on the days, participants, a very good afternoon to each and every one of you. I come from the state of Goa, where once upon a time mining along with tourism was the major industry. Historically, mining in Goa was a little different from the rest of India, because not only were the grants given by a different legacy, it was Goa was under the Portuguese, unlike India under the British. So these concessions were given on a long-term perpetuity, which finally came to be abolished in 1987 to bring it at par with the rest of India. And ever since then, things have been working through the MMDR Act. The
leaseholders in Goa have complied with the MMDR Act at that relevant point of time, applied for renewals in time. But as my predecessor, Mr. Satija, has expressed, there were a lot of issues, a lot of commissions appointed during that time, which finally resulted in this matter being dragged to the court, and the verdict was that the deemed renewals, which was prevalent in rest of India and including Goa, was not to be accepted, and therefore leases had to be granted afresh or a fresh grant. From our part, we thought that every renewal was a fresh grant, and so did the government, and accordingly they renewed the leases, which were again quashed by the Supreme Court in 2018, wherein the Supreme Court held that it should not be renewals but a fresh grant, by which time the MMDR Act had already been changed to 2015, and the only grant that was possible was to auction. And of course, if you were if you were less than 50 years, then that applicability of that 8A5 provision was also extended. But for Goa, we did try this. The state government as well as the industry did try this provision, but finally the court held that it had to go to auctions. And this happened in the month of October last year, 2022. With that being said, the only options for Goa to resume mining was through auctions. And as I stand, the first batch of 4 blocks have been auctioned, and the letter of intent has been given just last month. The second lot is set for auction in the next coming month. That's the position as far as Goa is concerned. So we are fairly new to this. But as we stand here, we are bound to have the same problems that the rest of the industry has indicated on how do we start once these blocks are auctioned. In addition to that, Goa has got another specific, I would say, disadvantage, because the Supreme Court has also fixed a cap on what should be the carrying capacity. So that will also, come in the way once leases are auctioned. And additionally, over and above all the taxes like DMF, NMT and etc., the Supreme Court also extended another tax called the Goa Iron Ore Permanent Fund, which makes, if you thought that it was difficult in rest of India with the existing laws, it's going to be even more difficult in Goa with that additional tax, unless this is revisited by the Supreme Court. We also do have certain challenges, because Goa, being a very small state, it has the coast on one side and you have the wildlife sanctuaries on the other side, and in between that there's a buffer zone. So all mining operations, whatever it may be, will have to be away from these areas, which makes your availability of land very critical. As of present, the government has auctioned the same leases which were prevailing, so that means there's no change in area. They have extended auctioned the same leases, so which comes with a little bit of a caveat saying that these leases in Goa were in any case small. We had issues on dumping outside lease area, because in certain cases the entire area was mineralized. We will still have that issue even now, unless things are further changed. We also operate on during 3 months out of the 12 months, we have heavy rainfalls in Goa, so that makes it a little prohibitive to do a 12-month operation. You can probably do a 9-month operation as far as winning and transporting of the minerals is concerned. To a specific query which our moderator raised on whether infrastructure could be done by a consortium, yes. In Goa, we did believe that any infrastructure development outside the mining lease could be best done through consortium. So the leaseholders at that particular point of time got in together and have constructed roads outside the mining belt, because our critical issue is from the mines to the loading jetties. These issues have been addressed. The waterways in Goa give us a very good platform to move this ore efficiently from the jetties to the ports. That is made up because our ore itself is low grade ore, so at least we have the efficiencies in place. So as we move forward, I know that things would be not so easy, but I would like to end here by a quote which says, everything changes and somewhere along the line I'm changing with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Glenn Kalamampara, for sharing your thoughts that how you look at Goa for reviving iron ore and the overall mineral industry in the state. It is very much critical, if I may say, because of the huge stock of low-grade ores that are lying on ground, and the state has actually suffered over the last few years because of the export ban and other things. We have around 5-6 minutes in hand, and I'm sure there will be a few questions for the speakers. So open for the house to raise your hands. Kindly tell your name and the organization that you belong to, and then throw your question, please.
Myself, Anurag Oza, DGM Mining from OMC. My question from the dignitaries is that, is the auction policy sustainable in the long run? Has any assessment or study done that before and after auction, whether the job opportunities increased or decreased?
So before auction started, that time there were certain reports, certain studies done. Niti Aayog also has done one study. And the general perception or understanding was that beyond 55 or 57% it doesn't make sense for a merchant miner. Now, value addition or in steel making or in any other sector downstream, that depends how much you can absorb. So, say if iron ore is say 10 to 15% of steel making, you can make it to 20. And then again, if the steel prices are good, then you can absorb. So, Vidyut has also mentioned that it will be transferred to the consumers, or infrastructure cost will go high. But what has happened after auction, that majority of the mines are through MDO. I am not against MDO. They also have a right to exist, and some of the NGOs are good also. But the long-term implications, if we don't do hand-holding, we may not be developing good leaders in mining. That is sure to happen. See, I can tell you from my example, when we started outsourcing our equipment maintenance, it was very good, the MTTR and everything was very good. But then the know-how or the knowledge which a department used to have is going down. Most of the mining companies have a wing of geologists for exploration. Now with auction regime, that exploration wing is closed because it is an auction, so why do you explore? So that knowledge also is going out from the mining companies. And if someone is joining through MDO, probably he may not get or may not be given the full exposure of mining. He may be busy in excavation or meeting the targets. And maybe 15, 20 years, if you want someone as a head of the mine or maybe a general manager, probably I can't say at this point of time whether he'll be given that much exposure to lead or not. Because mining is not only excavation, it requires a greater understanding of the whole value chain. And probably that we need I would say, deliberate more. And your second point of your question, that is there some study post-auction? So we all know that operationalization of mines is 50%. And that too, mines which were auctioned in 2020. So the greenfield new blocks have not come. There are cases of surrendering the mines also. And that has created uncertainty, especially for the graduates who are going to pass out from college. And my apprehension is that if the trend continues, as such graduates prefer to move to IT and other sectors, this will again be some sort of, push to look for other avenues. So as I mentioned, we are in an evolving phase, and onus lies on us also, those who are in the industry, to ensure that those who are coming in the industry, they are taken proper care of, irrespective of whether they are in MDO or in your own role.
Any other question from anyone? I think there is.
Hello. Yes, sir. My question is to DGMS, sir. This is regarding, regarding you are expressing about the dumping of the area. In some of the auctioned mining leases, which have come up on the expired mining leases, because the expired mining lease, as per the action rules, it has to be auctioned as it is. If he include any virgin area or a non-mineralized area, that needs a fresh forest clearance, where it's a time taking. So that's why in some of the states they are auctioning the blocks as it is, the expired lease. And there is a short of dumping area. And if we go ahead with the dumping and adjusting within the leased area, where there is no provision for the dumping, entire area is a mineralized area, which is going to be a violation according to your department. And what the miner has to do in such cases, why can't DGMS to make such circulars to the government that while auctioning there should be a provision for the dumping site also?
Actually, we are in a process to amend the MMR 1961. So what are the suggestions you are saying now? Why the government cannot give in advance all those things, that you can suggest, because that is the MMR proposed, amended MMR 2022 is going to be published. I think it is notified. It shall be notified or in the version notification. So always you can give your suggestions which are there, that shall be taken into considerations. Because we are finding certain lease issues where the dump area is outside the lease area, dump is outside the lease area. So certain statutory issues arise when all these things happens. So this is a very serious concern, and as a regulator, I also take this very seriously. So rightly, we have pointed out the right parameters which shall be looked into by the concerned mine and the future owners.
Thank you.
So this is a really serious concern issues.
Yeah, my one more question to the RCOM, sir. This is regarding on the, as the panelist has expressed, regarding the surrendering of the several mining blocks. The major issue is with the mines and geology, they are auctioning the blocks with the limited data available with them. It might have been done with the G1, G2 level, or it may be whatever the information available on the expiry date. So in such cases where there is not going to be a mineralized area is not available, suppose for example it has been projected as a 10 million ton, and when I start mining as a new successful bidder, I will end up with only a 1 million ton. In such case of deviation, who is responsible? Whether erstwhile lessee or Director Mines and Geology or the approving authority mining plan, which is IBM.
हेलो, अभी रिसेंटली एक केस हुआ है, उड़ीसा ओमसी, दे हैव टेकन ए लीज फॉर वेस्ट डंपिंग. So if your lease area is having a complete mineralization, you should acquire some area and get it from government for getting the lease also. Right? So the process has started, or I think other states should follow also that line.
But as such, there are no such guidelines neither from your department, because as we said, if we speak, hum rote hi rahenge, sir. As a mining industry, if we bring it to the knowledge of the government, the consideration would be very meager. But the same thing, if it comes from the horse mouth, that would be a great blessings for us.
I said, already process started. So you should approach the appropriate authority, then things will move. Till that you have to create a temporary...
Sir, not able to hear you.
Till that you have to create a temporary dumps, and as soon as you excavate some part area, then you can backfill. Otherwise, it is not possible. Then explore some area, non-village outside of the lease area, and apply for it and get it from the government.
No, sir, that is not, that provision will not be there, because if I have been given a 50 hectare of area, in that 50 hectare area already decided whatever the geological resources are available. I have taken it out. Suppose for example 10 million ton, out of that if I am able to excavate only 1 million ton, I will be bidding at high price and I am losing the lot of revenues. It's as an economic loss to the country as well as to the mining industry. So in such case, so either the IBM, so I wanted to suggest in our panel also, why can't like your department, TGMS and Mines and Geology, Forest together, before auctioning, why can't there should be a committee that you decide first what need to be done?
Provision is there, before when state government select the area, it should have a provision for also for dumping also. That rule is very clear. The state government survey the area, have a provision for dumping, telling everything. But in spite of that, somewhere it is not being followed. Rule is there.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sure there will be many more questions, but just in the interest of time, as we have 2 more sessions to go, I have a request from the organizer to conclude this, and maybe the other questions can be taken up separately with the speakers, or we can take up those questions in the next 2 following sessions. I think it's time to thank the eminent panelists for sharing their thoughts from DGMS, IBM, Tata Steel Mining, Goa.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, this may be your last question. Kindly hear me. We are from Coal India Limited. Coal India Limited, sir.
Yeah.
Am I here to you, sir?
Yeah.
Sir,
Generally auctioned. And the prime blocks which CIL thinks that the CIL subsidiaries will be able to extract economically and easily, those blocks generally Coal India takes care of. But the other blocks which they find it is somehow difficult to extract or mine, so that is their sphere. And sometimes we also find as a regulator, some blocks like say in Talche coalfield, and if we see some Ib Valley coalfields, say Talabira 2 and 3, that is being built by the NLC, their safety standard not less than the standards which had been set by the MCL. So it is not always that the private parties they have some say less standards. Like say Tata Steel. Tata Steel has some mining blocks in West Bokaro and some Jamadova. Their safety standard also not less than the BCCL.
Legend, with this we conclude this panel discussion. We thank all of you for your active participation. We also thank all our eminent panelists and also the session chair for this session. As a token of our gratitude, I would request Monica Bachchan to kindly present memento to our session chair, Mr. Bidyut Chakrabarti from KPMG. I also request Monica to present memento to Shri Krishnendu Mondal, Director Mining Bhubaneswar, Directorate General of Mine Safety. Thank you for your valuable time and presence. Shri B.L. Gurjar, Regional Controller of Mines, Indian Bureau of Mines. Thank you for your time. Mr. Glenn Kalambara, Secretary GMOEA. Thank you for your valuable time and presence. And Mr. Pankaj Satija, MD, Tata Steel Mining. Thank you for your valuable time. Thank you, Monica. Ladies and gentlemen, this was the end of session 2, the panel discussion on state-wise assessment of investors, facilitation by the government. We will now begin our third session. Our third session, the topic is panel discussion on mineral processing, washeries, linkages, transportation and trade. The theme of this session is iron ore beneficiation, pelletization and other minerals processing requirements, coal washeries, need of technology upgrade, linkages, LTAs and mine development, operators, possible options for securing raw material, mineral trade, domestic and international, and ease of doing trade with MSTC platform. These are the theme of this session, which will be discussed in a panel discussion. Please join me in inviting on the dais the panelists of this session, Mr. N.D. Rao, President Projects, Astha and Amalgam Steel. He would also be the chair of the session. Next, I invite Mr. Abhinav Sen Gupta, Manager, Mining and Metals, PricewaterhouseCoopers Private Limited. Ms. Aisha Gaglani, Senior Lead, Pallet Export. For the rest of the proceedings of this session, I hand it over to our session chair with his opening remarks. This panel discussion once again is on the theme mineral processing, washeries, linkages, transportation and trade. Over to the session chair, Mr. N.D. Rao. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon everybody. There is one question I think Ayesha I'm going to ask. Why some of the products we put it in the international market, we fetch almost $20 to $30 lower than the other countries which they supply. Take the case of iron ore pellets or take the case of iron ore or take the case of chromite ore or manganese ore, you take any of these mineral resources what we have and we put it in the international market, we get less price. I'm not including the freight, only the base price. I think Ayesha will ask it or else. Can you please answer this? Ayesha.
Sir, your question was not actually audible because of the mic.
I will answer this.
Yeah.
It's where God is very good to us and He has blessed us so many resources and however He left something to be done by us also. This is where the miners are doing their job, but this is where the job is there for the mineral process engineers to do the beneficiation. Why we fetch less premiums or less prices with respect to our products in the international market is there are some other minerals which we have to remove it. Like in the case of iron ore, the alumina is there. Unless we remove the alumina, that's why we get less prices. You name any resource, whether it's a chromite, chrome Fe ratio, if it is manganese or manganese Fe ratio, any mineral you take, we have certain other elements where we need to do the normalization for which the mineral processing is required. However, mineral processing, to do that, investors are ready to do it, but the regulatory framework is making it very difficult. What is this? Suppose we want to do make use of the low-grade iron ore, convert into high-grade concentrates of iron ore, the number one, the tax structure is such that royalty and all, the cost of high-grade concentrate, it becomes higher than the cost of high-grade ore itself only. That is the reason some of the iron ore beneficiation plants are there. They are not using it for low-grade iron ore beneficiation because it does not make a business sense. It is not viable. This is a huge gap in the policy framework where the cost structure, the royalty on the royalty is making it the low-grade ore very expensive. Thereby, it is making unviable. That's one reason where mineral beneficiation is very much a discouraging practice. It is happening. It is rather a disincentive for the investors. Mineral beneficiation, not only for iron ore, various other minerals also, it is more so after auction. It has become almost impossible to do that. It is not that technologies are there. Mineral processing technologies are available. Even somebody was telling that why can't we enrich 18% grade iron ore into high grade concentrates? It is possible. Technology is available. If iron ore is available in magnetite ore, certainly it can be made up to 65 grade. And all those things are available. But there are two things which are stopping it. One, the royalty structure, the tax. And the second thing is disposal of the waste coming out of the mine. If you want to set up an iron ore beneficiation plant for any minerals, even including the coal washeries, where do you store the residues? You won't get the land for the necessary approvals for that. That's why it is extremely difficult environmental clearances for the storage of the waste coming out from the beneficiation plants. This is one big challenge. I hope, Monica ji, you are making note of it to put it as a representation to that. That's why the mineral conservation is not well taken in the right shape. Mineral conservation is not going well because of these two limitations what industry and the investors are facing. And mining per se is probably this is the only one area in our country which is having highest regulation. The regulation, whatever the miner does becomes a violation. It is not just in the private sector, it is in the government sector also, whether it is PSU or private miners, the violations come because it is so much regulated and it is making extremely difficult to do mining. Take for the case of coal. If we are going to mine only 1 billion ton per annum, by 2070, we have already agreed we will be carbon neutral, net zero. Means we don't require coal. Then what will happen to the coal? We will just sleep over the coal. We are sleeping and we will continue to sleep on coal resources. And what will happen to it? So therefore, Monica ji, we need to we need to mine at the rate of 7 billion tons per annum. Then by 2070, we will be able to make that carbon neutral or net zero. We don't know. Is there any requirement of the coal after 2070 where India has committed for net zero? What's going to happen this resource, coal resource? Another challenge we have to take, Monica ji, today the mining GDP is approximately 2.5. Why can't our country take a target? Please write to the Prime Minister's office that can we make it 10% GDP, 10% of the GDP by 2047, by the time we will have 100 years of our independence. 10%. nothing wrong in asking and suggesting to the government. And incidentally, by 2047, the target for steel, national steel policy, it is 500 million tons. Means we require something 800 million tons of iron ore, something like high grade. The logistics is the biggest challenge which will make it happen or not. Resources we have, technologies we have, over and above we have good human resources also. All resources, God has blessed us in one place, that is in India, all resources available below the ground, above the ground. Such a wonderful resources are happening, but we are not able to convert into that because of too much of regulation. So, logistics today, India is one of the highest in the world. Overall logistics costs in India, as per the recent notification or something made by a Honorable Minister of National Highways, it is around 16% India. Comparing to other countries like China, it is 10%, Europe, it is some 8 to 10%, and other countries, logistics costs. However, fortunately, the disruptive technologies are available in transportation. Most of the minerals can be transported below the ground through slurry pipelines. It can be transported, and water resources are available so that they will not become NPAs. So it is good news was that morning OMC was telling that they are going to produce 100 million tons per annum of various other minerals. That is a positive indication. And of course, NMDC will also do that. But however, the biggest challenge is for Coal India. Most of the coal resources are there, and they can also do it also. And another biggest challenge for the government is, while so many minerals auctions areas are available for auction, it is not known. And also nickel deposits are also there, but it is not put to use as of now. Another thing which our country is sleeping is titanium and rare earths. There is some reforms are required. Why only PSU? Why it has to be, rare earths should be only under public sector? Why not under private sector? Why we want to create, why we are maintaining and creating like Air India? All of us know Air India in the past to highest cost and most inefficient. After coming the private airlines, now we see what we are experiencing. Anybody can fly, it is happening. And Monica ji, that rare earth mineral, lot of other minerals are there which are not coming up, lot of exploration is required.
Thank you, sir. Next I will have Aisha. Please come. So Abhinav will have your presentation.
Okay. A warm good evening to all of you. First of all, at the onset, I would like to thank Metallurgic PMS for organizing this congregation of like-minded people. Not very often it happens that all the industry stalwarts are at one place and we're discussing about the various aspects of mining and mineral sector. Hi, I'm Abhinav Sengupta. I would like to discuss about the raw material sector and why this security is a big concern in today's world. So let's get started. Next. Okay. So the agenda would be very simple. We'll talk about the Indian mining sector. We'll talk about what are the drivers for raw material, what are the challenges it covers, what are the possible outlook for achieving the raw material security, and the final paradigm shift where India is progressing towards. So just to set an outset, a context of Indian mining sector is it's highly regulated. It is marred by gender. It is pandered by politics, and we already have highly labor intensive. So in this case, if you see the Indian mining sector, since post-independence, we would see that the first era was called as nationalization, where all the major rules, acts, PSUs were being set up, and that is the place where Indian mining sector was coined as the primary sector of India. Then in 1991, we would see that Indian mining sector got reformed a bit. That era was called the liberalization, where the triggering factor was power sector reforms, and also we have the FDI in the Indian mining sector. There we have some rules coming up, like MDOs were put in place, contractual mining came over. We also have national mineral policy, national mineral exploration policy. All things was happening in those areas. Then what happened after 2014 and just 11 and 12, we have Coalgate scam. Supreme Court cancels 204 coal blocks. And apart from that, in the World Economic Forum in 2016, there was a Industry 4.0 term got coined. So because of all this impact, the Indian mining sector moves towards the commercialization. So we have seen from 2015 to 2022 onwards, that era is called the commercialization of Indian mining sector, where we have the auctioning regime coming in place, which we already discussed about. We have minor mineral auction in place. Then there were GST in mining, and all the reforms were happened. Now this was the time where Indian mining sector was gaining ground in order to achieve what we want to achieve, like raw material security and Atmanirbharta. But now the concern has come for what are the drivers for raw material security, why raw material security is very important context. Now you have to understand this, that achieving a raw material security is a function of both. It's a function of time as well as technology technological development. A material which we look at this point of time might not be of importance in the future. So similar case, if you see the drivers, there are a huge amount of cascading impact of all the drivers, like we have COP commitment, we have in place like National Infrastructure Pipeline, National Mineral Policy, we have Atmanirbhar Bharat, PLI scheme. All these things have helped us, requiring from minerals or the raw materials in place. But on the supply side, we only have those indigenous mines in place, domestic, and then we have imports. Then there are some, alternate substitution of minerals or materials, and we have some, also some like alternative fuel resources. But all in all, there were few drivers which really impacted this entire issue of raw material security. First is we have high population. India is a highly populated country which always demand raw material consumption, and our raw material consumption for any mineral is hugely less than as compared to world average. Then we have concern regarding the infrastructure growth. We are going to grow like anything. All the raw materials will be required for infrastructure minerals. Then we have energy transition in place. We have circular economy, and also we have a concern of growing trade deficit, which we are going to reduce if we don't import. Then we have Industry 4.0. So all these drivers has helped helping and the concern started of achieving the raw material security at right place at right time. But there are challenges. So apart from the price, the other things which impacts the raw material security and the challenges that that any end user is mostly concerned of is, number one is the quality of raw material. Of course, after quality there is the quantity, then the sustained supply and the logistic in place, and then there are some contractual terms. So at the same point of time, we have to keep in mind all these five are put in place properly. Then only the price will play an important role. If you don't achieve this, then there will be cascading effect on the downstream industry. We also have direct leakage, direct cost leakage, indirect cost leakage, and also we have lower sales revenue realization. But now the moot question comes: how are we going to achieve this? Now with the advent of first mile connectivity, last mile connectivity, technological improvement in the material handling system, there are plethora of options which has come up for achieving the raw material security. Few I have discussed here, and the more can be devised and developed with the particular permutation and combination. So if you could see on my screen, there are some 8 options like how we can achieve this raw material. Either we can do some indigenous mining, or we should import, or we should acquire some mineral asset overseas, or we should buy it from a trader or a merchant miner, or we could have it from an equity stake outside India. But each and every every options has their own inherent risk and challenges in place. So we could see that import, if in case of import, we could directly see that all the risk, like, right from supply chain to geopolitical, all risks are very high. Like similar in case of indigenous mining, if you own the mineral assets, all the risks are minimum. So now it is very interesting to see at this stage, what we have done is here, if you see on the x-axis, if you could see that there is certain minerals which we are currently producing at a lower rate and certain minerals we are producing at a higher rate. And on the y-axis, if you could see, then there is a future demand, limited demand, and there is a high demand. So then we can bifurcate this entire chart into 4 zones, zone 1, 2, and 3 and 4. Now, surprisingly, India is currently grappling with zone 4. All the minerals which you can see like lithium, nickel, cobalt, all the battery minerals. Then apart from that, you could see that rock phosphate, potash, all these, fertilizer minerals. They are really, we don't have much of a, resources. We don't have potash resources as such. We do have rock phosphate, but they are very limited quantity and we are highly dependent on the import. So this is the one area where India is currently grappling with, where we highly need attention. Apart from that, if you can see on the zone number 3, steel. And when I say raw material could be, a mineral, material or intermediaries, anything. We have steel, aluminum, bauxite, chromite, though in abundance, but we still require them in future because there is a demand as we are going to grow. Then we have certain mineral like in zone 2, I have put up, coke, a normal coal, a thermal coal, because we presume that after 2030, the demand for coal will come down. We'll have a gas-based economy in place and we'll be, slowly and progressively replacing the requirement of coal. So now the challenge is to devise a right approach for all these zones. So if you could see, let's discuss quickly. If you could see that for the zone number 1, where we already have a low production in place and we already have low import requirement, then what we can do, we can either have indigenous mining in place, or we can do some kind of bilateral agreements, or we can use some kind of alternate, mechanism. Like in the previous slide, you have seen there is a uranium in place. So we could, get away with the uranium in place of thorium. India have a huge resource of thorium. How about going and explore thorium and, replace the uranium need? Then in the zone number 3, we already have all the abundance of mineral, like we have, we have chromite, manganese, iron ore, but we still require them in future. So in that case, what we can do the congregation, or we can do the, grouping of the larger producer, and then in case of any raw material supply risk, we can manage that. Similarly, in zone number 2, where we have, abundance of mineral, but we don't require them large enough in the future, then in that case, what we do, we can have some tie-ups, we can have some strategic tie-ups, or what we can do, we can, some small regional association players can come up, and then on the regional basis, they can do the demand-supply mismatch, so that we should not go and import. And at last, zone number 4, where there is a major problem is, so in this case, India is currently grappling and they are going ahead with the imports, and the other part what they are doing is they are going to go ahead with the acquisition of a mineral asset outside India. So that will help them, reducing the cost as well as curtailing some kind of risk, mainly the interest rate risk. So again, summarizing the entire case what we have, we could see that there are minerals like battery minerals, fertilizers, and we have, electronic minerals. They can mostly fall in the place where we need to import them, number 1, and number 2, we need to have a strategic acquisition of the mineral asset outside India. While the minerals for nuclear and for thermal coal, we can go ahead with the owning and operating own mines, and at the same time, what we can do some kind of strategic arrangements and agreements. So now, if you see the entire statistics, and in that case, this time period, 2020 to 2022, was the era of reforms, where Indian mining sector has gone beyond leaps and bounds, and it has, you have seen that there was a, ease of doing business, there was laws regarding sustainable mining, there was laws regarding the digital impact, and also there was a, policy regarding the logistics. But this has been, number of laws have been changed. Earlier in the morning, somebody was already mentioning that number of changes, number of reforms happened within 1 or a year or 2. So this era we would call as a era of reform. But next, the now era, that is 2023 to 2030, we want to have the raw material security in place for all the minerals like battery, fertilizer, infrastructure, energy transition, that is copper also. We all require these minerals. Then only after 2030, we will be very much poised to say and believe that we will be achieving self-efficiency through having a downstream industry in place. Number 1, we'll have a minimum import so that our fiscal deficit and trade deficit should not go haywire. We should have a sustainable mining, which is a very important term in place. So this will only happen if we progress through this second phase. Lastly, I would like to summarize this, that concern of raw material, it was started as a bushfire, but now it is going to spread across the world like a forest conflagration, which we are finding difficult to extinguish. So with this, I would like to end this. Thank you.
Next, we will have Mr. Satyasai. Yeah.
A very good evening to the dignitaries on the dais and off the dais. We all know that Orissa is a mineral-rich state with more than 30% of iron ore. Who quotes first? Like this, the operation cycle will goes on. Whoever didn't get the material at the particular point of time, they will enhance the price and the cycle again repeats. This is the e-sale model. Coming to the main motto, then why you can think that why MSTC? MSTC created a virtual pool of market for the buyers and sellers, and we have more than 1,000 end users for iron ore and 1,500 plus traders in and around Odisha, as well as 200 plus chrome ore end users. That's the reason MSTC is very helpful in discovering the best price through our auction platform. And finally, the transparency and the fair practice. MSTC, if anybody want to participate, there is no need to inform any of the officers, and it is a very transparent process. We have the centralized e-wallet system. Whoever deposits the EMD in the e-wallet system, they will automatically get the access and can participate in the auction. So this is what it's a last session. I don't take much time. Thank you very much for giving opportunity to Metallurgy.
Thank you so much, Satyasai ji. So we have Aisha from AMNS India. And Aisha, I have a few questions for you. Like, till I understand, you have a pellet plant and AMNS do a lot of exports. So I would like to understand from you, like few months back we had an export duty of 45%. So how did it affect your pellet export business, and how did you overcome those challenges from the policy front? Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Metalogic and Monica for having us here. And it's been an honor to share the panel with Mr. Andy Rao. He was my first mentor in this pellet industry, because of which I am here in the pellet sector. Coming to the question that how, so of course it was quite a hard hit to all the pellet manufacturers in India. Most of the pellet plants were shut. Like as far as AMNS is concerned, our 6 million ton pellet plant was under the shutdown for few months. And the other pellet manufacturers, they have cut their production by around 30 to 35% compared to the previous ones. And since we were actually exporting the low grade pellets, which is around 62% grade, Fe grade, and with high alumina and silica. So usually domestic sponge manufacturers or the blast furnace users, they don't use such grade of pellets if we see Chhattisgarh region or the Odisha region or West Bengal. As far as AMNS is concerned, it is a port-based plant. So domestic, the transportation was a concern to us. So that is why our pellet plant was shut. And apart from that, we had the contracts and
auctioning, say 50 mines in one go or 100 mines in one go. Why government is doing 5 mines in one go, another five like that? What is the reason behind it, and is it because MSTC is not able to cope up that, or government wants higher premiums? Why it is not happening in one go? That is affecting the supply chain of the minerals available for the user industry. Is it possible that 100 blocks can be auction can happen in one day?
can you turn it on?
Hello. Yeah, the question is very tricky, but Director of Mines never thought in that way to generate the competitiveness by hiding some mines and opening some mines. It is a continuous process as and when the mines are clear from the leases and all the mine block summary, everything is prepared. Then whenever they give any number of blocks, MSTC is capable of taking the task immediately. And it's not like the interpretation you made like 5 mines like. So one
Source. Technology is available. Coal gasification technology is there, coal is there. Not necessary that we have to use only coking coal. This can also produce steel. Then why, apart from coking coal, why we are importing thermal coal also? A lot of thermal coal is coming to India. We are sitting over 360 billion tons of coal. Why? What should we do? What are your solutions?
Okay, sir, it's very valid point. If you see India's import bill, first commodity is crude oil and natural gas, second would be coal, and that's a thermal coal. In spite of having one of the largest producer in the world, we are importing coal. There's a simple, last 2 years gone multiple folds, and it has changed from what it was earlier before the pandemic. And in order to fulfill that, the coal, since it provides the base load of energy to this power plant, it has to come up. Now, we didn't have much of indigenous production in place. We were earlier thinking that Coal India was going to produce 1 million ton by 2020, but that same target got deferred by up to now, it is up to 2025. So in order to fulfill that, the government has to, either they have to import, because we have stranded gas-based capacity, that's why we cannot depend on gas. And ultimately, the renewable power, for all the renewable power generation, you already have very low PLF, so that cannot suffice the need. So ultimately, we have to depend on the coal in order to provide that base load of energy. So that is number one. Number two, you could see this commercial coal auction started from August 2020, if I'm not wrong. So August 2020 it started, and then the block got allocating. So achieving the production and ramping up to a peak production and started generating, subsequent power out of it, it will gain ground. I mean, since 1 or 2 years next, now you will see that these coal will coming into the picture, this commercial mine coal. So as of now, we have to still depend on import, and that's why government is, sometimes they are changing it to 10% import mandatory now, they have reduced down to 6%. So they have to maneuver along in order to, fulfill the demand.
See, there used to be a complaint previously that our coal quality is not good. But technology is available, coal washeries are there, where we can bring down even for PCI, pulverized coal injection into the kilns or the blast furnaces, 10% ash level it can be brought, and even 20% ash for 20 to 30% ash level to give it to the DRI making. Technology is available, washeries are available, but why still we are importing a lot of coal to our country? Because of that imports, we want to export something, we don't get rakes. Today we have to wait for, I think, more than a month to get if you place an indent to get a rake.
Okay, so you already must have heard about there's a rationalization of rake has come up, the policy has come up in 2020 where the rationalization of coal rake for the coal supplied by Coal India Limited and SECL is in place. Now they have come up. But yes, we are still grappling with that problem. So what Government of India has done in order to reduce this, one simple example, for the power plants of PSPCL, RINL in Rajasthan and Punjab where we don't have coal assets and they are still depending on those coal from MCL or SECL, they have adopted the model of rail and ship model. So instead of importing the high value coal, what they should do, they should use the indigenous coal which we have. So either through rail and ship model. So just the price will surge, but that's what the arrangement government is doing. So apart
Do we have questions from?
My question is basically connected to waste management. Now in beneficiation, you have rightly pointed out that once we do beneficiation, we add value to our ores, so we get a better market. But as high-grade deposits are getting depleted, we'll be producing more and more waste. Now in view of recent two disasters in Brazil and all, now there is a compulsion from the statutory authority also, and rightly so, that the waste has to be disposed of in the form of
filter creeks, basically the dry tailings. Well, that, up to that point, of course, it jacks up the cost, maybe threefold cost to its old counterpart. But apart from the cost part, okay, cost part can be probably taken care of. There is another, basically, prescriptions coming from those ends that you have to give a plan.
This is a good thing, and the hidden wealth is there. There is something called recycling industry is coming up. There is one case study, like secondary minerals are coming up from recycling industry. One Rubamin in Gujarat. So they recover lithium from waste batteries and all the things. There are so many things. They have moved from 500 crores company to 10,000 crores turnover company in just 5 years. It is a hidden wealth. The recycling is going to take that, and it's a well said that the waste disposal, like this mine waste or the beneficiation plant waste, if proper place is given, I hope some of you must have seen Johannesburg, South Africa. Like at one Johannesburg, that point of time, nothing but it was a mining town. When you just near the airport, all around Johannesburg, there used to be huge dumps of waste generated from the beneficiation plant, gold processing waste, etc. Over the years, I used to travel frequently to there. Then I see those get just removed. As the gold prices and other prices keep on increasing, they have started reprocessing, and that's how they have removed those dumps also there. Like that, today what we have, those type of things are there with respect to iron ore in several mines also, in several plants also, that because it used to be very high grade at that point of time, used to be mined. Today we are mining up to even 45 grade also. So that's how they get exhausted over the time frame. Questions, please? Yeah.
I'm Dr. S.K. Vishwa, TGMRC Bhubaneswar. Regarding the coal, because India having the 346 billion tons of resources, the majority 90% is the non-coking coal and 10% is the coking coal. At present, coking coal being utilized because of we require more coking coal for the blast furnace. Around 50 million ton we are importing, no doubt. But India, those are the producing through a blast furnace route, they are using the coal injection. The coal injection is from non-coking coal, not coking coal. Yeah. Because you told the 10% of the ash percentage required with the other physical properties, now we are importing almost for coal injection from the outside. And non-coking coal, almost 150 million ton we are importing for coal injection, as well as for the other utilities, particularly for South India and our Western India, they are utilizing it. Because now the non-coking coal gasification, it has been proved by JSPL in Onugod, because our highest coal, which has the 45% ash, now by simple washing, they have bring down to below 35%, and now they are utilizing for the coal gasification. And through that route, they are producing the DRI and producing the steel. And future also, because the JSPL has successful implemented, future Government of India was thinking a lot of coal gasification. And at present, whatever research we are doing for green hydrogen, it is not so easy to become the economical 63% pellet. Because of the export duty has been implemented, you are not able to export. But you have the Hazira plant, why you are not utilizing that pellet in Hazira? What is the problem?
So, repeat the question again. 60
because
to 63?
now 60 to 63% pellet you are exporting to outside. Okay. when export duty is imposed, you cannot able to become, it will not become the cost economical viability. You have the steel plant in Hazira.
So, coming to that question, AMNS is actually utilizing 80 to 85% of pellets in its iron making facilities. Whole of pellets which is produced in Vizag, it is getting used in the Hazira plant. And Paradeep plant has 12 million tons of capacity of pellets. So, one pellet plant is dedicated to Hazira. So, the another one, which is in excess, because it is allocated for the another steel complex which is coming up in the Odisha in future. So this 6 million tons actually is in excess. So we are actually utilizing 80 to 85% of pellets. And so yeah, I think that will suffice. Yeah.
Thank you.
I am Mr. Ekkebarik. Levels in those plants, they are upkeeping their plants and proper systems are in place, etc. Government, whatever standards Central Pollution Control Board has given, they are all sustainable standards. And most of the industry are implementing, some may not be able to do it. That is a different thing which government has set up its regional pollution control officers. They are acting also, they are doing their job. And it is technically feasible and it is being implemented. No such rules are required. Already we have enough of rules. Why we would like to add on more and more rules? No rule can control this. The technology solutions are there. They have to implement it. There is something which we have to do from our side also, the investors and the plants also. No amount of regulation can control it. Yeah, thank you very much everybody, and thanks my co-panelist Aisha, and you have explained about the international trade and how the importance of pellets. I would like to add on here what she has mentioned it here. If it is carbon neutral and how pellet is going to improve the reduction in the emissions, the good point here is that God has given us rich iron ore resource, but unfortunately it has got something, a tag. Unusual in India. One is sintering, another is pelletization. Sintering per se is a good technology. However, sintering is extremely good if the word alumina is not there. If alumina is there, that pellet is good technology to give required strength while it is put into DRI or into the blast furnace route for the reduction process. So since to get that good strength of the sinter, you have to keep on adding flexes, MGO, MGO, MGO. Thereby it gives high slag rate in steel making, iron making process, and some of the steel plants used to operate at 500 kgs of slag for 1 ton of hot metal, comparing to the world best of 165 kgs. The LCAB in Sweden, that is the world benchmark, only 165 kgs of slag rate comes. In Tata Steel, I was part of the task force, and we have reached up, lowered it up to almost 230 kgs per ton of hot metal. However, the highest, I don't want to take the names of the steel making, but many private expect a round of applause for MSTC, please.
Thank you, Mr. N.D. Rao, session chair of this session.
PwC, that's a very good presentation you have made. Lot of research, and please continue to do help that how it will help to government to bring more and more reforms so that it will ease of doing business will be there for the investors to invest more. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Session Chair. Mr. N.D. Rao, President Projects, Astha and Amalgam Steel. We thank you for your time and chairing this session. Ms. Monica Bachchan to present a memento as a token of our gratitude. We are also thankful to our eminent panelist of this session, Mr. Abhinav Singh Gupta, Manager Mining and Metals, PricewaterhouseCoopers Private Limited. Ms. Aisha Gaglani, Senior Lead Pallet Export, AMNS India. Mr. TMDV Satya Sai, Branch Manager, MSTC Limited. Thank you once again for your time and valuable presence. And thank you, Monica. Ladies and gentlemen, we will straight get into our last and the concluding session, which is the plenary session of the evening. The theme of this session is Joining Hands for Strategic Growth, State Governments, Miners, Investors, Plants and Logistic Providers. Chairing this session once again will be Mr. N.D. Rao, President, Projects Asta and Amalgam Steel. I request Mr. Rao to kindly remain seated on the dais. I also request Mr. Glenn Kalavampara, Secretary GMOEA, to kindly grace the dais. I next call upon Dr. Saibal Chandra Mitra, Deputy Director General, Geology, Geological Survey of India, to kindly join us on the dais for our next and the final session of the day, the plenary session. I once again request Mr. Saibal Chandra Mitra to kindly join us on the dais. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the plenary session, the theme is Joining Hands for Strategic Growth, State Governments, Miners, Investors, Plants and Logistic Providers. Once again, Ms. Monica Bachchan to moderate this session. Now, for the rest of the proceeding of this session, I hand it over to the session chair. Can we also have Mr. Partho Banerjee from Fermento to kindly join us on. We'll start with the opening remarks and over to the session chair. Thank you.
So we will start with Dr. Saibal. Sir, you have a presentation. Please come. And in this session, after Dr. Saibal's and Glenn sir's deliberations, we would like to have your suggestions, as much as you can give us suggestions on ease of doing business, and we will be asking you now.
Thank you, Monica ji. I also give a good afternoon to all of you, the dignitaries and already present in this area. So my topics is that the exploration that we have so much heard about from the morning about the mining, but the role of the exploration in case of a sustained mining or is a resourceful mining or is a full-fledged mining, that is the role of exploration was in this case. So, the role of mineral exploration taking a part like from the experience of this mining, but we know that almost in the most of these cases that about 7 to 8%, about 10% exploration can get a good resource of mining. In that earlier stage, that there are lot of exploration, prosecution is there, lot of exploration perspective is there, but with the long times that some of this exploration may fruitful in the mining sector, some of this not. So that my topic is on this exploration, how it gets in that, and particularly I give thrust to the state of Odisha, where that lot of mining activities takes place and also where that exploration is done and the land shares is done by the Geological Survey of India State Unit Odisha. Next slide. Next slide. So, we know that already we know that in that case of exploration, we have get that minerals into the two or three commodities is there. One is the bedded type of deposit, another is the lancewood type of deposit, another is the placer deposit. In the bedded type of deposit, coal, bauxite, limestone, and also in some cases the manganese are there. That thing is that here that exploration is still easier that and the risk is less, and from this and most of these areas that these are successed into a good mining futures and the mining generally goes out. Next comes in the lancewood type of deposit and the vein stringers and the lode type of deposit. That in lancewood type of deposit, that is the in the main cases is that in the manganese deposit, in that in the Bonai Kendujor belt, there are some lancewood bodies are there. While we have been exploring this there, in some cases we have get extremely good manganese, about more than 40% manganese is there, but at sometimes they are pinching out and get no manganese. In that veins and lode type of deposit, that is in the gold, that is in case of the platinoid, that is in the case of the other things that rare earth and etc., that the copper also the base metal, that rate of success is generally high risk is there and rate of success is lesser that compared to the bedded type of deposit. Next slide. So we know that in Odisha that lion's share of this chromite, nickel, cobalt, bauxite, manganese and also the titanium bearing magnetite, and we know that in India that most sillimanite deposit that is in the Sonapar in the Meghalaya has been exhausted, and now the sillimanite we have to depend on the beach sand is there, and in the IRL they produce the beach sand, and also the refractory industries they have really they are dependent on this beach sand sillimanite for the refractories used in the refractory industries. I have a specialization, I have a doctorate in the refractory industry, refractory and ceramics. So I see this thing from a very close view that what is the nature of this raw materials thing, the difficulties in the refractories, not only for that sillimanite is also, another is refractories main thing is that this is a magnesite that which is used as a chief raw material, used as a refractories in the iron and steel in the blast furnace. Now we have also see that there are substitute is coming up, that is the olivine. That olivine, that dunite is there. Dunite is a material which is associated with the chromiferous deposit and is a byproduct, but this dunite has several advantages over the olivine in that refractories industries because it has a no sintering cost, it has a high corrodability point, it has a high melting point and no preheat industries are there. So that dunite can be easily get used in place of olivine. Next. So in that Odisha, there are several blocks are there, several areas are there where we concentrated about our exploration and for that mineral industries that in that from this northeastern part of this Odisha, in that in the Madnasai and Keshwarpur deposit, that it is the, I think, this is the credit of the GSI to take Odisha into the base metal map of India. And in the last few years, 3-4 years, we have augmented more than 42 million tons of base metal in that Odisha. And with the, not only that of the base metal, here that this is associated with the significant amount of nickel and cobalt, and some areas also the nickel is substantiate is there, and we also augmented more than 2 million ton of nickel ore in that Odisha. And here also it is associated with gold, cobalt, silver and nickel. Another areas is there for the base metal. It is in the Eastern Ghat area in the Adas and Ampuli sector where we have get the copper, gold, silver, and also the graphite. And here in this case, that one thing is we have to stand in our mind, that is the dual mineral policy. That if you sustain from mining for a mineral, sometimes we get that another mineral is come, which is also the economic in nature. In last cases also in that our recent exploring area in the Uchapalli, Thakurpalli and Dandapani, we have get substantial amount of graphite, and sometimes the graphite exceeds manganese, and sometimes graphite is extremely associated with that manganese. So this that also in that iron, in that aluminum industries and the other industries, that a lot of titanium, vanadium and gallium is there associated with that iron bauxite industry. And recently in the Jammu and Kashmir, that lithium has taken into the pictures, and that lithium is also associated with the high silica bauxite deposit. Another is that already I have told that Uchapalli, Thakurpalli and Dandapani blocks in the Bolangir sector, and apart from this, we have really concentrated our think at the Eastern Ghat areas, because not only for that graphite and manganese, but also there are in some places where we get the very high deposit of that RE minerals, sometimes they are in percentage. In last two exploration, we have carried out and we have get REs in more than 4 to 5% associated with that RE, and we think that in the recent future, these areas will be certainly get into picture of the RE map of the India. Apart from that, carbonated deposit in Gujarat and also some of this RE deposit in Rajasthan also. Next slide. So we know that with that advent of the green energy, that apart from that, that's what the Paris Treaty in the 2025, that the demanding of this lithium, copper, nickel, cobalt is increasing, and also keeping on this track in our mind, that we also give you thrust, the Geological Survey of India now give the thrust on the that the strategic and the critical minerals, that includes copper, lithium, cobalt, nickel and manganese, and with this also we have get the sufficient deposits of the cobalt and nickel already, and copper in the Odisha also. Next slide. So you see that with that future, that from the 210 to 2040, that the green energies will get more increase, that electric networks and electrical vehicles and battery storage and other things that is based on the that lithium, cobalt and nickel will be come into the picture. Next. So this is the sum of these exploration blocks in that Odisha, that in the Bolangir district, in the Uchapalli, Thakurpalli sector, here we first got more than 31% of this manganese in the associated with the rhodochrosite, in that manganese, that is the manganese carbonate, and in that most of these cases also in that Modnasai areas are there, these are all the things are the recoverable, and in the Moyinbhanj districts and the Keonjhar districts also, we have take the exploration where that for this nickel, chromium and cobalt, that is the concealed deposit of the ultramafic areas, and also we get the sufficient values of the nickel and cobalt there in that concealed deposit. Next. This is the recent explored base metal deposit is there in the Modnasai Keshwarpur there. You have seen that lot of base metal is coming in forms of the chalcopyrite, which is associated with the nickeliferous deposit, that pentlandite, and also in some cases the molybdenite is also associated within deposit. Next. Now it is in the Eastern Ghats area, it is in the Bolangir also, that in the Tadas and Rampalli areas also, not only that copper, cobalt and nickel, we have also proved sufficient amount of graphite, which is also a strategic and critical mineral and the strategic mineral for this country. Next. Now it is the Eastern Ghats, another area is the Tumundi graphite, where we get graphite that in some cases that fixed carbon is more than 25% at places. So next. So this is the coal field that also you know that most of this coal field in India as discovered by the Geological Survey of India in Talcher and Ib River coal field. That is the two coal field. The Talcher is the largest coal field in the India and also is discovered by the Geological Survey of India. Next. So now regarding the report that handover that we have already that handed over 26 G2 report to the state government for auction and 23 G3 report in the auction, and some of these areas that Goraburani, Sagasai, Kalamang West, Gandalpara, Lasedda Pachari has already been successfully auctioned. Next. And the 23 numbers that it is the up and in this recently concluded Central Geological Programming Board, we have also handed over another 3 G4 reports, and these G4 reports also contains some critical minerals like tin, chromite and also graphite. Next. So with this thing in that our pictures that we have given priorities to the particularly that fertilizer minerals and the critical minerals and the strategic minerals in Odisha also, and we got some areas where we have not earlier think that there is a tendency of getting the critical minerals, such as example in the Talcher coal field also we have taken in this year one RE exploration program where that we get a very high percentage of RE there, and we think that also that in this area we will also get the picture in that RE map of India. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Saibu. And with this, I would like to invite Mr. Glenn to give the closing remarks. Glenn, sir.
Most of the, I would say, frustration sometimes have been expressed, and this have to be taken in the light spirit, because what we need at the end of the day is solutions. We know that we have problems. What we require is practical solutions so that this does not impediment the growth pattern. At the same time, we are in sync with sustainable development and responsible mining, as our chief guest of honor, Mr. Mishra, has pointed out this morning. We have spoken about the number of auctions that have been conducted and more to come, but I think what we need to also put in place is how much of these auctions are actually resulting into mines getting made production. You know, because we may have X number, but if 1/10 of that X number gets into production, that means we need to address that there is some concern somewhere which needs to be addressed. Most of the time, insecurities build up because there is a need to generate and build on assets, because we do not know, block A may stop. I need to keep my options available for block 2. That leads to aggressive bidding. There are other reasons as well which have been pointed out: delays, fluctuating needs and demands, penalties. And I don't know whether it would be right to say that can we have some kind of a system wherein true bidders get into auction, or people, let's say, having experience in mining should be probably allowed to participate in auctions. I don't know whether this is something that will be acceptable, but I just thought as a geologist that people who have experience in mining, some years of experience, at least 5 years, 10 years, should be allowed, so that we control this aggressive bidding pattern that we are seeing today. We have also noted that there's differences between PSUs and non-PSUs. We have also seen examples wherein people have highlighted that the need for dumping outside the lease area needs to be clarified more. In fact, so Desai is not here, but in the Supreme Court, in its order in 2014, had indicated that while dumping of material outside is covered up in your rules, it was not essentially covered up in the Act. So what actually was required is to make it applicable in the Act, so that act and rules are in sync with each other. And last but not the least, I think this low to very negative branding of this industry has to be addressed in some forums, so that mining is not being seen as something, a dirty business or a business wherein people assume that there's a lot of suspicion that is created. I think with this, I would just like to end by saying that not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. With this words, I would like to thank the organizers for giving me the opportunity, and back to you, Monica.
Thank you so much, Mr. Glenn. And now the house is open, and I would like to understand from each one of you that what do you think are the solutions and the recommendations we can give Metalogic to the government to enable ease of doing business in mining in India. You can also talk about from the state level or national level perspective. And before that, I would like to thank our exhibitors starting from Dev Energy, Liberty, High Rise and Bisra Stone for staying with us and participating in this conference. So shall we ask Dev Energy first? Dev Energy? Yeah. So can you pass on a mic please to Dev Energy? A very short, in 1 or 2 minutes, if you could just tell us what kind of services you are providing, so that the people in the house, they get to know your services, and if they need your assistance, they will definitely come back to you. Yeah. Not audible. Not audible.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello. Actually, we are a manufacturer of coal gas plant, coal gas, like producer gas plant. Just we are using in pellet industry, steel industry, and ceramic industry also.
Okay, so in case anyone requires coal gasification, if they are planning to set up, they can reach out to Dev Energy. I'll move on to Liberty Shipping. Liberty Shipping, is there any representative from Liberty Shipping? So you like to tell us what services you are providing to the house? Okay, we can go to Bisra. Bisra Stone, yeah. If you just tell the house what all things are there in your kitty.
We are from Bisra Stone Lime Company Limited. We are producing both limestone and dolomite. We have huge quantity of limestone and dolomite, both BF grade limestone and cement grade limestone. At the same time, SMS grade dolomite and BF grade dolomite. So those who are interested, those who have cement plant or steel manufacturing plant or power plant, they can contact with us. We have 260 million ton limestone and 163 million ton dolomite. All infrastructure are available. We have 3 siding, can load 60 racks per day. So there is no problem in logistic, and it is also well connected with NH 143. It is situated 30 km from Rourkela. So we can fulfill all welcome.
So
all are welcome.
We all know if they want to set up a steel plant, तो उनको अब किनके पास जाना है? It's Bisra Stone Lime Co. Company Limited.
Yes,
and
yes,
I
madam.
believe this is a subsidiary company of OMDC and RINL?
It is subsidiary of RINL.
RINL.
It is under Ministry of Steel.
Under Ministry of Steel?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, madam.
So we also have one sponsor who has sponsored your delegate bags. Siddhi Instrumentation, so they could not attend the conference, but they have given me few lines to tell you about Siddhi Instrumentation. The beautiful bags which you have in your hand is sponsored by Siddhi Instrumentation. First, I'd like to play a very short advertisement of 15 seconds. So basically, Siddhi Instrumentation was formed in 2016 and started its actual business operations in 2018. 16 and 17, there was R&D on manufacturing and testing of transport shielding for storage of radioactive source. Also, quality parameters of online coal analyzer were tested, and the first official installation of online coal analyzer was done in September 2018 at GMR Energy, Varora near Varda. The parameters analyzer were ash, moisture, kcal and TPH, basic parameter important for coal. Later the same unit was produced by Adani at their Kawai Rajasthan plant, and later it went on with cement industry like Ultratech Cement, maybe Bisram might be interested to know, JK and Mahajanko pipe conveyor project will be commissioned before June 23. Siddhi has started in-house development of NG used for density level measurement and other various applications used widely in steel, power, oil and gas, and are under AERB approval process. Siddhi has provided radiological services for more than 200 radioactive sources, which are CS-137, CO-60, AM-241, KR-85, SR-90 and CF-252 especially. So with this, no one from Siddhi was not able to attend the conference, so this was the message they wanted me to convey in front of you. And so we would like to have few suggestions from your side if you like to contribute to our report, which we will be producing. Yeah, Mike. So अभी आपके पास full liberty है, दिल खोल के बोल सकते हैं, because this is the end of the session.
I just request to present your memorandum to the government of India, that first thing, the request to the regulatory authority to streamline their rules and regulations so that mines owner or mines people are not suffered. Number one. Number two, so far coal production and coal import is concerned, we have given a lot of number of blocks to the private organizations. They should see, government should see and ensure that coal production is ramped up from those blocks. Because we have seen last 10 years, no such good amount of coal is produced from those blocks. So it is requested from your side, to you, that you should write to the government of India that they should take necessary action so that coal production will increase, so that our import will be less. These are two or few.
That's a very good suggestion.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah. And anyone else like to make a suggestion? Yeah, Abhinav.
I just want to make one suggestion in this, that government should make some kind of arrangement that there should be a proper awareness about the mining sector. Many people don't know about what exactly mining is. There is a wrong connotation that mining, because mining is the first activity which human will do if they go to moon or any other planet. Without that, nothing will happen. So there has to be a proper awareness. So once they get the awareness that raw material is required, mining is required, then there will be a proper clarity what to do. Now it comes with a lot of negative connotation. Even if you study mining in engineering colleges, that happens. So this has to, awareness has to come. That's a primary sector apart from fishery and agriculture, and it has this important role. If this comes in picture, if this comes in clear, everything will fall in place. Thank you.
Lovely suggestion. We have some gentlemen sitting on the table. If you like to just make an introduction about your company. Kalpit? Yeah, please give them the mic.
Good evening, everyone. It's a
great event which we had today. So my simple suggestion would be to send it across to the highest authorities across state and the center governments, so that everybody is aware of what we have discussed today, and they can also give their suggestions on that. And we would like to discuss this in the next, other upcoming events. That's all.
Kalpit, if you like to tell us about your company a little bit.
Yeah, so I represent a company called Coal Hub Logistics. We are primarily a logistics company which mainly works in coal and iron ore. So in a nutshell, we transport coal from the various collieries to the power plants and steel plants and wherever the coal is required. So now, and we've grown the company from our humble beginnings to about 2 lakh tons a month now, which we're doing now, and we want to grow it further. That's all.
That's great. So it's Coal Hub. So we have gentlemen sitting on the table. So आप अपने बारे में कुछ बताइए. कल्पित आगे दे दीजिए माइक. I could not interact with anyone, and it would be a pleasure to know each company.
Yeah, good evening to all. It's a honor, and actually my beloved Deputy Director General is on the dais. I belong to the premium earth science organization, that is Geological Survey of India, and we are particularly now giving focus on the exploration for the critical and strategic minerals. Since the many giants of the mining industries are there, we are normally focusing on the bulk minerals. Since we have already discovered that is the manganese carbonate, rhodochrosite from the Eastern Ghat mobile belt. For the first time in India, only 2-3 deposits are there worldwide. So there should be awareness that how to extract manganese from manganese carbonate. As you know that manganese has a lot of demand in the green energy technology. It requires around 30-40% increase in the battery consumption with lithium, because in addition to lithium, we require manganese, cobalt, nickel, tantalum, graphite and other things for the future. So from that angle, we should look into it. Thank you.
Lovely, great. Paji, आप कुछ बताएंगे? Paji, he is capturing video of every person, but please give him a mic. So, आप सबका वीडियो बना रहे हैं, आपके बारे में थोड़ा जानना चाहेंगे हम.
Hello.
Hello.
Myself Jaswinder Singh from AIAC.
Association.
जी.
सब पूरा नाम बताइए एसोसिएशन.
Jaswinder Singh.
तो एसोसिएशन का पूरा नाम बताइए सबके.
All India Association of Coal Executives.
Okay.
It is an association of retired as well as working executives.
Of Coal India Limited.
Yeah, Coal India
We
Limited.
welcome you, sir. And आपके बगल में जो टेबल है, I would like to know that आप लोग, yes, ये टेबल पर, exactly this table. I like to know who all are sitting here. It will be a great interaction at this table.
I'm L.K. Mishra, a retired General Manager Sales and Marketing Coal India, and now I'm a member of the AIACE. That's my.
So these are your
yes,
colleagues.
My colleagues are here. My colleagues
These
are here.
two tables.
Yes.
Okay.
Please raise your hands.
Raise your hands. Yeah, that's great. And जो hand raise नहीं कर रहे हैं वो अपना introduction देंगे.
Myself R.B. Behra, member of Coal India Executive.
Okay. Coming to the front table with MSTC. You both are from MSTC. Okay, we know MSTC. At the back, sir, you like to introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm actually Arindam Mukherjee. I run my own I advise a few international companies interested into investments into mining. So I'm here really listening out to you all today. And it has been a great experience here. Although the message I'm going back with is not very positive, because after all this, what I hear is that with the present regulations and everything in place, the economics of mining is just not profitable. So the message...
That is the reason we have conducted this, and we will be creating a report, and I'm taking suggestions from everyone. There is definitely a problem.
There, one thing that is standing out a bit is that somewhere we have to talk in unison. The thing that is happening is that the government officials have all talked about how the regulation has improved over the whole period of time, whereas the private sector has said it's gone into a position where we're not profitable. So the two has to come into unison if we really want to represent the mining in a positive manner going forward.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely.
Okay.
This table, we have NMTC. Okay, great. Yeah. वहाँ पे दीजिएगा.
Good evening.
You have the mic.
I'm representing one Chinese company. I think this is, I'm the only one who is representing somebody who is from abroad. The company's name is Milestone Technology. My name is D. Sanyal. Actually, I'm a consultant for this mineral beneficiation and pelletization, and I'm representing this company called Milestone Technology. They are into this, they call suspended magnetic roasting, which is bit similar to our reduction roasting technology, which converts this hematite ore to more, magnetic ore and enables this beneficiation.
Sir, कहाँ पे based out है?
I'm from Calcutta.
Calcutta.
Yeah, but we represent, and here is my colleague.
Hello.
Actually, he is into the procurement of his low-grade iron ore, and that also this is one of the activity of the company. So we expect that this reduction roasting and whatever you call it, suspended magnetic roasting will be popular in India, and I feel it is beneficial as a technology. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
And
I have a question.
बोलिए.
I have a question.
Yes,
because
sir.
this is a very interesting subject. You undertake, your company, basically the parent company, the Chinese company, they do this fluidized based reduction roasting or normal reduction roasting?
Now this is not normal reduction roasting. This is a bit different. Specialized reduction roasting. That's why they call it a suspended magnetic roasting. I got a brochure here. Actually, we distributed all the tables. So if you are more interested, you can discuss. Give you much more the testing results and all, and technology, whatever it is. But it is written here in this brochure, and it is given almost to all the tables.
I suppose what you are saying, the suspended means.
No, it is not. Not that way. It is, but yeah. Okay. It is a kind of reduction roasting only, but with some difference. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for...
This is basically to give answer to a question which Ms. Monica raised in pre-lunch session, which was, this is a question basically I am just trying to reply to Ms. Monica's question in pre-lunch session. There was a very valid question, even I also felt some time back that whenever we go for any kind of investors meet, we find so much of enthusiasm and so much of signing of documents, this, that, commitment goes on, but ultimately it doesn't take off. So basically some time back there was a global investors meet in Karnataka in Bangalore, where even a couple of foreigners were also present and all, and I had that question in my mind. Foreigners, what they feel still, that in India the major problem is very frequent changing rules and regulations. They are not very happy with that. That gives a kind of uncertainty in their mind, and that's why basically they are not very much interested now to invest, rather to see, and over a period of time, over a period of this time of evolution, they want to basically keep a watch how India is basically transforming, and thereafter probably that kind of situation will happen when you can expect that FDIs will be there. Till then, as per them, it creates a kind of uncertainty in their mind, so it's difficult for them.
And somehow I think we are still not
Yeah. And second point, another thing which is very, very important, I believe, that is everybody is probably discussing, everybody is in their heart, that point is there is auction. Somehow in auction, in my opinion, we try to avoid seeing the elephant in the room. Problem is there. Now, that premium thing is the elephant that is in the room, but we somehow just want to avoid that particular problem. And everybody is happy with that because government is happy when it is being sold at high premium. People are ready to pay, government is happy. People are paying and thereafter at some point of time they are not able to run it. But how long we can avoid just keeping our eyes closed to this, that we need to see. As I was just trying to mention in my speech also in the morning, that this kind of problems is not for the first time we are facing. In other countries they have faced this, they have come out with kind of solutions which are basically technical solutions, and we need to involve the experts in this field who are basically economists for a proper auction design. Unless that happens, this will continue happening in this particular way and we will go on suffering on this particular auction issue. Because today there is no other alternative other than auction, there is no other route by which you can acquire an asset. And without acquiring asset, we cannot move further. So I would request Monica ma'am also to probably highlight this, because there is an issue which everybody knows but somehow it gets out of sight. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank our eminent panel for the plenary session, and we would also like to present a token of gratitude to Dr. Saibal Chandra Mitra, Deputy Director General, Geology, Geological Survey of India. Thank you, Dr. Saibal Chandra Mitra. We also thank Mr. N.D. Rao, President Projects Astha and Amalgam Steel. We also thank Mr. Glenn Kalavampara, Secretary GMOEA, and we also thank Mr. Partho Banerjee from Fermento for this session. We thank all of you to come out in such a big number, to stay the entire day, for such active participation, making it a great day of deliberation, interaction, participation, and great stimulation. With these, I also now invite Monica for vote of thanks, please.
So finally, this is the last speech of the day and I'm closing the session. It is my honor and pleasure to give the closing remark at the conference of Ease of Doing Business in Mining in India, powered by NMDC Limited. What a joy it was to organize this event in Odisha and to able to welcome such high-profile speakers, guests, industrialists, technology providers, and logistic providers. With your participation, we have successfully finished all sessions. I would like to express our highest respect and more sincere gratitude to the Honorable Steel and Mine Minister, Shri Prafulla Kumar Malikji, for expressing his interest to participate. And of course, we understand that he could not participate due to assembly session. I would like to express my thanks to Invest Odisha, AP Coal, OMC, Tata Steel Mining, NMDC Limited, SJSPL, Janki Corporation Limited, MECL, Iron and Steel Review, TVQ, Fomento Resources, MSPL Baldota Group, Siddhi Instrumentation, Liberty Shipping, BSLC, Dev Energy, our knowledge partners, NEST, IM, Bhubaneswar Chapter, our support association, Goa Mineral Ore Exporters Association, EEPC India, Federation of Freight Forwarders Association in India, Pellet Manufacturers Association of India, All India Association of Coal Executives, Alloy Steel Producers Association, pardon me, ISDA Mining Engineers Association of India, and CORSMA. I would like to express my Thanks to all our esteemed guests and speakers who have participated. Thank you. I'll start with Shri Sumit Dev, Chairman and MD, Director of Operations, Odisha Mining Corporation, Mr. D.B. Sundaramam, Vice President Raw Material, Shri Kalyan Mohanty, Executive Director Industrial Promotion and Investment Corporation of Odisha Limited, Shri A.T. Mishra, our Guest of Honor, IFS, Deputy Director General Forest, Regional Office, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Bhubaneswar. And then I would like to thank Mr. S.S. Mohanty, CEO and MD of SR Minmet, Mr. Partho Banerjee, who is still with us in this session also. Thank you so much, Partho sir, Director for Mento. I would like to thank Mr. Ajit Kumar Patra, AVP, Mines Barbil, Mr. H.Y. Desai, VP Corporate Affairs, MSPL Limited. I would like to thank Mr. Muthumani M., Business Head, Mining Division of FACR, subsidiary of Vedanta. Then I would like to go ahead to thank Mr. Bidyut Chakravarti from KPMG and Shri Krishnanandu Mandal, Director Mining, Bhubaneswar of DGMS, Mr. B.L. Gurjar, Regional Controller of Mines, Indian Bureau of Mines. And I would like to thank Shri N.D. Rao sir, who is again with us, President Project Atha and Amalgam Steel, Mr. Abhinav Sen Gupta, Manager Mining and Metals Priced Waterhouse Cooper Private Limited, Ms. Aisha Gaglani, Mr. TDMV Satyasai, Branch Manager MSTC Limited. I'd like to thank Mr. Glenn. Thank you so much for staying with us for the two long sessions, and Mr. N.D. Rao and of course Mr. Partho Banerjee. And last but not least, our last panelist, Dr. Saibul Chandra Mitra, Deputy Director General Geological Survey of India. Dear all, I would also like to thank you for being here, staying with us, and still listening to me, though I have a very bad throat. I'm coughing all through in this conference. I'd like to thank my team members. My team, please come ahead. I'll start with Yasmin. Yasmin Khan Akhtar, she's into marketing of metallurgy. Rahul Kanwal, please come ahead. Amarjeet, Shiv, Rajat, Manu is not with us. She is again my colleague. And just to inform you all that we are a very small company, Metallurgic, with having an employee strength of 10 people. But then, and it's a 6 years old company I founded 6 years ago. This year we have completed 6 years in January. And this is my small team. So we have 3 departments. So during pandemic, we did several webinars on mining, steel, then we also covered electric vehicles and many other agendas, pelletization, exports, then several debates where a lot of policymakers, industrialists, they made some debates. For each and every program, whether it is a webinar or conference, we create a report which we share with the relevant departments and the delegates. All these information, reports, deliberations are available on our portal, which is mymetallurgic.com. Please visit to our website and get a lot of information. This conference was live throughout on our YouTube channel. If you have the mobile devices, you can go to YouTube app and just type Metallurgic PMS. You will find our channel and lot of videos on mining and steel, a lot of information videos also, a lot of interviews and short documentaries, and some of the interviews which I have taken. All for being here, having a dinner and cocktails starting very shortly. Stay with us and I will meet you shortly in a while for the drinks, of course. And after this, we are going to have our Metallurgic Annual Conference in Delhi during May. So we will send you the invitation. Please try to find time to attend our annual conference in Delhi. Thank you so much. We will meet again. Thank you.
Don't forget to like, subscribe and share the videos.